Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. This time it is on what is called the degree system of astrology that I was really fascinated by Sri G.K. GopalaKrishna Sir's Tirupur system of astrology. That's no doubt it's a part of the traditional system only, and he enunciates it so very nicely in his books. I thought we will try and make some example charts to learn how it works. So this is a file that I have created. I will enunciate how it is used, and let us see what meanings we can derive from his system. What essentially it does is, we have the longitudes of the various bodies like Lagna, Sun, Moon and all that. And he also deals a lot with Mandi, so I included that, the Upagraha Mandi also. And irrespective of the sign, whether your Sun is in Mesha or Mars is in Simha, whatever it is, you just note down the degree and then arrange the degree as per in ascending order, descending order, and then rank them. That is the karaka that we normally know of, the Charakaraka system. And he takes a lot of importance to how these degrees are connected mutually. So how close they are. We normally don't watch this. Of course, the Atma Karaka, Madhya Karaka, that I normally prefer including Rahu also, the 8 Charakaraka scheme. In his book, I saw that Rahu's advanced, suppose here Rahu has gone through 11 degrees, and normally what we do is 30 minus 11 is what it has advanced to. And so, while considering the Karaka scheme, we use that degree of advancement. So, I have a separate column called degree advanced to find the Charakarakas. Whereas our GK, he uses directly the longitude of the planets itself, the Rahu itself. And he brings out a lot of interesting information in his book on what he calls the degree system of astrology. Normally when we see these degrees, we don't immediately catch how close they are. So what I did is we erected a difference table in a way like a matrix, where I have put all the bodies here to the various columns, and also the same bodies in the rows, and each column row entity would be the difference between the two. Basically, if you take any cell, say it is in the Mercury row and Venus column here, so this would be the difference between Venus and Mercury in degrees. So Venus is somewhere here, which is 5.6 degrees, and Mercury is 13 degrees. 13 minus 5 would be somewhere around 7, 8, depending on that. So that's 7.87 here. So this is how this table is created. And I have used the conditional formatting to highlight to you degrees which are red would be very close. And degrees which are green are very far. So preferably red means if it is very close, it could be affecting it. So that way, immediately you can see here some red streaks are seen here. Mars and Mercury seems to be getting mutually affected some way. And also this Rahu, Ketu, Mandi, Saturn area, if you see a lot of red in this area, what planets having that red might be a concern, because these are all malefic planets. So one we has to be watchful. So how this is created directly, you don't have to punch anything. Normally what I do is I go to JHORA. This file was created a little long time back before I started using creating charts in Excel. So therefore I go to JHORA for this. So you make your chart, or normally whatever you do. I have chosen here the items of traditional leggery. And then once you have created the chart for the person, right click, copy to clipboard, and then you go to Google Sheets. That's easier, as I said even before, in different video, I go to Google Sheets and then you start a new file and paste it anywhere. This will paste it in a bizarre manner. You have the option of data splitting the text to columns. So use this and automatically neatly separates them into columns. Just copy this, come to the degrees astrology, go to the birth chart, and wherever I have marked it as red, just click there and paste your matching the definition of the output format here. Then automatically this degrees are separated here and that is captured here automatically. So this is the input file, input sheet where you have to paste from JHORA. So the birth chart, all that would be captured here. So you don't have to do further anything. So instead of putting your data in Excel itself, you are using JHORA to create the data itself. Now this is the chart of some individual now. So how do I use this is something I'll go through now with giving you some examples. So let me choose how I can do it. Okay, I think I had a Google presentation somewhere in the slides. Let me open that. So this is the degree system of astrology. So let me go to slideshow itself in view, I think. There you are. This is the case where I have created a chart for a person. You have the information here, May 6, 1985, 50. I think it's Chennai. So this person, he lost his father at a very, very young age. Just seeing the chart, we might not be able to see Surya is exalted. The ninth lord is Jupiter, and Jupiter is aspecting his own house. And the fourth lord is in the ninth house. That is okay, it's somewhat bad. So you don't seem to understand clearly why the death of the father happened that way. But once you see it, the ninth in this way, ninth lord Jupiter has connection to Mars, and therefore the eighth. If you see the Jupiter, it is connected to Mars. What does this mean? See, Jupiter as the closest degree to Mars. So the closest planet degree is considered is a connection. So the closest connection is Mars. In terms of connection, I normally put this as only till Saturn. Rahu, Ketu, Mandi I have not included, but you can check. This will be red if it is Rahu, Ketu. Even Rahu, Ketu in this case are quite close. That's why these are red. But at least 4 degrees away. But Mars is very, very close. And Mars is the 8th lord. So here the connection, which I call Mars the connection here, because Mars is what is connected to Jupiter. And that connection is placed in the 5th bhava. So that is this row. And what is the connection lord of? It's the lord of 1st and 8th. So you see, Mars is by itself is a fierce planet, and is the 8th lord, which is bad for the 9th house because it is the 12th to the 9th, and therefore to the father. So the Mars's connection to Jupiter, which is the 9th lord. So Mars's connection to the 9th lord has proved fatal for the father. So 9th lord Jupiter in connection to Mars in the 8th is what I have put here as. And he lost his father, I think, at the age of maybe 8 or 9, I think, at a very young age. And if you see the Pitru Karaka happens to be Mercury in this case. And Mercury, if you see, is again connected to the same Mars and to the 8th house. Therefore, that would not be very obvious to you unless you draw this connections table. So, because Mercury, if you see, is in the Lagna with Surya, but 8th house connection might not be very, because 8th is the lord of 8th house, Mars. Therefore, that is also aspecting the 8th house. So, this table that way could be quite useful. 4th lord, which is 8th to the 9th. So, the 4th lord is Moon. and the fourth lord is in the ninth itself. Moon is in the ninth itself, and moon is connected to the Saturn, and sun is also connected to Saturn. He lost his father. So these are throwing out some information like that. And this boy who lived without father, he studied okay, but then not great. He did not have a job till now. He has been he will be joining one job, leaving it in another month. So no stable job for I think he might have joined some hundreds of jobs. So livelihood is totally affected for him. Livelihood karaka, which is Saturn, is in the fifth house. So you see Saturn placed with a lot of other planets like Rahu, Mandi, and even that Mars, who is the eighth lord. So fifth house itself is very bad for profession, because fifth is the eighth to the 10th house. So, and also 12th to the 6th house. So 2, 6 and 10 of a profession, and this is a bad, fifth is bad that way. So livelihood karaka is placed in this fifth, Saturn itself placed in the fifth. Multiple afflictions you see already. And if you see here, you have a Mandi is very close to Rahu. Mandi is very, Rahu and Ketu both together. That way it is all very bad for him. Unfortunately, he has not been able to stick to the Parivartana connection between Saturn and Moon. What I call it a Parivartana connection is Moon is connected to Saturn here. By connection, what we mean is the closest to Moon. The closest to Moon is in this case Saturn, which is just 1.95 degrees away. Therefore, Moon is connected to Saturn. And Saturn in this case, if you see, is closest to Moon. So this Saturn is the karaka of livelihood, and Moon is unfortunately, fourth house should give stability normally, Lagna, but by nature, Moon is a planet for vacillation. And he is such a person, he will, even if he has been getting jobs, not that he has not got jobs, he might have got some hundreds or 150 jobs, and he will be there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, leave it out that way. That Moon's quality is reflected in the livelihood of Saturn there. So those things are coming out clearly from this connection table. And he is 43 years old now and he is not yet married. If you see Shukra, Venus, this is the graph of the plot of these degrees, and you can immediately find out which is the lowest. Venus is coming out to be the very, very low here. Of course, this lowest is based upon only till Saturn. Rahu Ketu seems to be still lower in actual degrees, but progressed wise it is quite progressed well. So Venus is very poor. So Venus poor is in fact the Dhara Karaka. Venus happens to be the Dhara Karaka here. And Venus is connected to Rahu, Ketu and Mandi. All this you see Venus, 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 Venus. So he is not yet married, and we don't know whether he is likely to be married at all or not in the later years. So it has been a disastrous life that way. But this is an example of how this table can be used. Now this is another chart. A person November 11th, 1970 at 4:18 in Chennai. If you see this chart, the Lagna rising is that of Virgo, and the Mars, the 8th Lord, is sitting there. And the tables are there. If you see immediately the graph, you see Mercury to be the lowest in degree. And this person had major issues with his head. He was diagnosed with a lot of mental problems. He had surgery, he had a lot of medications to the head. AD issues has been continuing, his medications have been continuing. So what you see is Lagna Lord Mercury. If you see immediately Mercury, what it is connected to, all these red, Rahu, Ketu and Mandi are the closest in relation to the Lagna Lord. And Mars is, of course, leaving out Rahu, Ketu, Mars is the closest in terms of the planets from Surya to Saturn. Mars is the closest. and Mars is the 8th lord. So head, definitely Lagna being Lagna lord, Lagna representing the head is head is suffered because of Mercury's connection with so many negative planets. And the 8th lord himself is sitting in Lagna. Mars is sitting in Lagna. He is the greatest papi for this Lagna, and he is sitting there. Lagna connected to Saturn. See, if you see Lagna, that connection turns out to be Saturn. Saturn seems to be the closest to Lagna in terms of degrees. And Saturn is sitting in the 8th house, that bad 8th house. Saturn is sitting there. And Lagna should be strong for a good head. Lagna is definitely very high. Lagna Lord, unfortunately, has gone to low. So he is a very intelligent person. He has come out very well, but unfortunately, the Lagna Lord has affected him because of the head problem. So, and his marriage also ended in separation. If you see, the same Lagna Lord, Mercury, which we have been talking about, who is connected to Rahu, Ketu, Mandi and Mars, he is also the Dara Karaka. So, Dara Karaka is for marriage. So, that way, all this Mercury is getting affected by all these planets. So, Dara Karaka is totally affected. Same 8th lord is affecting. In fact, his health problem itself was the reason for wife leaving him is what a year. The 7th lord Jupiter is also not well placed. If you see, 7th lord Jupiter is 8 houses from his own house, and also with the 8th lord, and also with the 12th lord. So the 8th lord, 8th lord in the sense from his own. For the 7th house, 8th lord is Venus, and the 12th lord is for the Lagna. So that way it's not, and there is a perfect jam. If you see Jupiter, Venus, they are very, very close. They are 23.3 and 23.73. So Jupiter, Venus nexus jammed. The 7th lord jammed with Venus. Venus should be a good planet, but normally with Jupiter, Jupiter and Venus are deadly enemies, and Jupiter loses being in the house of Venus. And there is also, I think it's all Venus is placed in Vishaka Nakshatra, where Venus is very uncomfortable with Jupiter. That close nexus of Jupiter Venus, as you see from the degrees, may be the reason for his marriage ending in separation. So this is one example. The next example is this is a person who has no child. Otherwise, he has been doing well in his life. If you obviously see, Lagna is quite good. Karkataka Lagna, 5th lord is Mars, is aspecting his own house. Jupiter is in his own house. So we think Moon is also in the 9th house. So why should he not have child? If you see Jupiter, the Karaka is the LD1. LD1 is the lowest in degree of the first order, where you call the lowest in degree, which is the Dara Karaka, if you consider Ragu Ketu properly also. But GK astrology doesn't consider Ragu Ketu, as I said, in the reverse direction for the degree calculations. So LD1, Jupiter being LD1 is a big problem. So LD1, the lowest degree, is always a weak planet. And Jupiter is also, if you see, is connected to Mercury, because Mercury, if you see, is red, yes, 6 degrees away, of course, that is the lowest. So Jupiter is connected to Mercury, and Mercury turns out to be LD2, so no great connection there. So that way, Putra Karaka, if you see, is Rahu, and Putra Karaka is connected to Mandi closely. It is 0.38 degrees. So that way, Rahu, the Putra Karaka, is jammed in a way with Rahu, with Mandi in connection. Of course, I put the connection as Surya here because all these Rahu, Ketu, Mandi I don't consider for closest connection as per GKs. I was not considering it. But you can see the red marks, and you can immediately tell which even Saturn is quite close for the Putra Karaka. So those are bad. In fact, there are a lot of red items here for the Putra Karaka, which is a blemish. Of course, good planet nearby should be okay. But yeah, the fifth Lord Mars, you should be seeing fifth Lord Mars is aspecting the fifth house should be good. But he is connected with the Badaka, with the Venus, he is in the house of the Badaka, Badakastan itself. So this is seem to be some information that you can definitely glean out from the degrees, which is negative for a good childbirth. You can maybe use it in your other charts and check. Let me move on to another example file. This is that of our Chief Election ex-Chief Election Commissioner T.N. Sessions chart. See, when you see Surya, Surya is in fact the ST1, the highest in degree. So he was the Chief Election Commissioner, the topmost post. He was a bureaucrat of the highest order. So we know about it. And ST2, another planet like the King and the Queen, ST2, Moon happens to be the ST2. So, and there is a parivartana of Surya and Mars in his chart. Surya is sitting in Mars's house and Mars is sitting in Surya's house, and both are Kshatriya planets of the highest order. And that parivartana also gives good power and authority for a person of his nature. And if you see, Surya, as I already said, is connected to Moon. Surya is connected to Moon, and Moon is ST2, as I already said. So this table you can definitely see how Surya and Moon are fairly close also, and quite high in graph. And in spite of all this, even he did not have a child. So if you obviously, is it obvious the fifth lord is Moon, and Moon is in the 10th house of Kendra and all that. But if you see the fifth lord Moon is immediately, if you see here, he is connected to Saturn, and Saturn is the 12th lord. And as 11th lord also, Saturn doesn't do well. So at least not for this Lagna, but even then 11th lordship is bad. 12th is still worse. Karaka Jupiter, if you see for childbirth, Karaka Jupiter, the same Saturn is the cause. The Putra Karaka Mercury, if you see, Mercury is jammed with Mars totally. So Mars should be good, but very close. If it is Mars is 13 degrees and Mercury is 13 degrees, they are enemies, deadly enemies. And Putra Karaka is definitely losing its power. Of course, Putra Karaka is the advanced planet here, 13.48. Mars is not the Karaka. But then this jam has worked negative for him. And PK, which is Mercury, if you see all red here, very close to Rahu, Ketu, Mandi, Mars, and also Lagna to. So this table would be useful to you. I think this is my last slide. I will put links for both the Excel file and this PowerPoint, so that you will be able to appreciate and also use the Excel for other charts. Thank you very much.